College football playoff rankings have been dropped tonight. I dropped the live video a little bit ago. This is an actual commentary on some topics within it, and specifically the Miami Hurricanes being ranked number 12, as I expected in this college football ranking. They moved up past Utah, as expected, when Utah gives up almost 500 yards of rushing. But yet somehow there are certain personalities on ESPN who they somehow put on a desk to influence people around the country and make outlandish statements as if the Miami Hurricanes were ever in trouble in that game against Virginia Tech, going out of their way to say that the Miami Hurricanes were only better than Notre Dame for 1 week of the entire season, forgetting that Notre Dame lost the next game they played as well. So I guess that's at least 2 games. And actually, the Canes were ranked as high as number 2 in the country. In fact, there were many people that thought the Miami Hurricanes were the best team in the country after 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. So his thought process of somehow the Miami Hurricanes were only better than Notre Dame for a day, utterly ridiculous. I almost wonder if he's taking on this role because he wants some level of popularity or what have you. But when he ran his mouth tonight about how the Canes only beat Virginia Tech by 10 points, despite the fact that they did have the ball only 8 times in the game. I mean, I just want to give you a comparison. Just a comparison. The Miami Hurricanes had the ball 8 times the entire game, and they scored on 6 of those possessions. The eighth possession being the last time they touched the ball. And I guess in his opinion, they shouldn't have tried to score again. They did because the committee has created an environment of you need to blow it open because the committee did say that they had problems with Miami's offense, despite the fact that Miami has been missing 7 starters for the duration of the month of November. People don't seem to remember that either. But this thought process that the Miami Hurricanes have somehow played some trash can schedule, have trash can losses, while Notre Dame has played this incredibly good schedule, but but has great losses. One of them being to Miami, no less. So apparently the great loss was to Miami. I listened to Galloway talk about Utah beating Kansas State and saying, what an amazing comeback. Oh, not that a 500 team put up almost 500 yards rushing on them, but that it was an amazing comeback. Whereas I get the Miami didn't really win convincingly against Virginia Tech, despite the game never being less than a 2-score game after the first quarter and a half. Yeah, utterly absurd. But we're going to go a little bit deeper. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez. Shomot. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. I appreciate y'all continued support. Now, I'm going to break something down for y'all. So this is what we're going to do here. We're going to actually make a little bit of a comparison. And while at the end of the day, whatever metric comes out shows that Notre Dame has played a slightly better schedule than Miami, slightly, ever so slightly, not incredibly, but rather slightly. Notre Dame's best win, according to ESPN, was against Pittsburgh. That was what ESPN said. I ain't say it. ESPN said it. They said that was their best win. So their best win is against a team that Miami's playing this Saturday. Their best win, 37-15 on the road at Pittsburgh, is their best win. And that's against a team that Miami plays on Saturday. So if Miami goes and beats Pittsburgh 45-10, does that now trump Notre Dame's win? Just curious. It's on the road. It's colder. Miami doesn't play well typically in cold locations. So that's a question. Their second best win would be USC naturally then, even though I think USC is probably their best win. But that was a home game, and they kind of struggled in that game, honestly. And we just saw what USC is worth because they look like trash against Oregon this past weekend. We also saw USC lose to Illinois. Now, Notre Dame lost its first game to Miami and then proceeded a week later to lose its second game, or 2 weeks later, lose its second game to Texas A&M on its home field, had a lead by 6 with 2 minutes to go, blew the extra point that would have made it 41-34, and instead allowed Texas A&M to go right down the field and score on 4th and goal from the 11, needing one play to finish the game. One play. We do recall, like, the fact that at that time, Texas A&M wasn't regarded as anything special. No one, A&M was ranked 16th at the time. They were 2-0, having beaten UTSA and Utah State. And outside of Notre Dame, Texas A&M does not have a singular win over a team in the top 8 in the SEC. Not a singular win over a team in the top 8. All of their SEC wins are against teams in the bottom half of the SEC. The only game that Texas A&M at this point will play against a top half SEC team to date will be on Saturday at Texas. So if Texas A&M then goes and loses to Texas, which I actually expect to happen, will the power of that win, that loss, look as good? Will the strength of that win look as good for Notre Dame now that Texas A&M has lost to Texas? The same Texas that lost to Florida, the same Florida that Miami kicked the shit out of. I wonder. I asked the question because we're talking about strength of schedules and strength of records and good losses and bad losses. Texas A&M hasn't played a good team all season since Notre Dame. And I'm not saying Notre Dame isn't a good team. I've never said that. I would never even imply that. They are a very good team. And I wouldn't be, I'm not against them being in the playoffs. I think the way the playoffs are created is flawed. The G5 team getting an automatic is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It never made sense. You're going to give a team that has no business in the college football playoffs with 2 or maybe 3 losses in their conference, no less, potentially, getting an opportunity to play in the college football playoff, with these losses being in the American Athletic Conference or the Sun Belt Conference or some podunk conference across the country. So this is who Notre Dame lost to, a team that hasn't played a good opponent besides them. And what happens if Texas blows Texas A&M out? How does that loss look for Notre Dame now? So that's one thing right there. And I will say that the unbalanced schedules have created all kinds of problems within this ranking. Like Ohio State hasn't played a soul yet. They played nobody. And if they lose to Michigan on Saturday on the road, which is very possible, and they were to lose in the Big Ten championship, that means back-to-back losses to end their season. Would they still make the playoffs? Yeah, another question right there. But so Notre Dame starts the season off 0-2, and I get to listen to Joey Galloway say that the Miami Hurricanes were only better than them for a week, despite the fact that they lost their first 2 games, despite the fact that Miami was receiving first place votes in the AP and coaches poll up until like week 6, prior to their loss against Louisville. Louisville considered a bad loss when they're 4-1. But God dog, let Alabama lose to a 4-1 team in the SEC, and you're playing someone ranked number 12 or 10. But the team is in the ACC, so God dog, they must suck, right? We know it all is, built that way. So Notre Dame's first win of the season comes against Purdue. Purdue is 2-9. 2-9. Purdue started their season off with a bang. They beat the powerful Ball State. They beat the powerful Southern Illinois. And then they proceeded to lose the last 9 games in a row and did not score 30 points against any of them except for Notre Dame. 33-17 USC, 43-27 Illinois, 27-20 Minnesota, 19-0 Northwestern, 27-24 Rutgers, 21-16 Michigan, 34-10 Ohio State, and 49-13 Washington. They scored 30 points against Notre Dame. 30. Joey Galloway said that this team was better than Miami for the only for from the after the first week. Gave up almost 400 yards to Purdue, 2-9. And then a week later, they play another powerful juggernaut, Arkansas, who they beat 56-13. Arkansas is 2-9. So the Notre Dame Fighting Irish were 2-2 with 2 wins coming against teams who are now a combined 4-18. And then they play Boise State and win 28-7 in a game that really was closer than the score looks, because Joey Galloway likes to go there, because the game was 14-7 at halftime. Notre Dame took 10 minutes to score in the third quarter to make it 21-7, and then scored again with 7:54 to go to make it 28-7 to make the score look a little bit more lopsided, right? Same thing you said about Miami. Boise State lost to South Florida 34-7 prior to that game. 34-7. The Miami Hurricanes beat South Florida 49-12. Yeah. 49-12. But Boise State lost to the team that Miami beat 49-12, 34-7. So they beat Notre Dame by less than they lost Notre Dame by less than South Florida beat them. And Miami crushed South Florida. Boise State also lost 30-7 to Fresno State. Lost 17-7 to San Diego State. This team has lost 2 conference games, in fact. Then they go and they beat NC State 36-7, which at the time was a decent win. NC State 6-5. The same NC State team that Miami beat 41-7 and led 41-0 until the final minute when their third and fourth string players were on the field. Yeah, that was the same NC State team. So Miami beat that team worse than Notre Dame did. Then Notre Dame beat USC 34-24. Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, they made it. It was 27-24 going into the fourth quarter. Pretty close game. They won 34-24. And then they played the monster juggernaut, Boston College. And Boston College had Notre Dame on the ropes. 12-10, Notre Dame led Boston College with 38 seconds to go in the game. Notre Dame eventually won the game 25-10. Boston College is 1-10. Can you imagine what would be said right now if the Miami Hurricanes had played Boston College to a 25-10 game and only led 12-10 going into the fourth quarter? My God, they would be eviscerated. So Notre Dame has wins over a 2-9, a 2-9, and a 1-10 team. Then they beat Navy, who is 8-3, 8-2. It's Navy. Like, let's be real. This is Navy we're talking about. Like, that's okay, whatever. Then they had their most impressive win. They beat Pitt, who's 8-3. Congratulations. You beat Pitt. That's your big win. Our big win is you. We beat you. You beat Syracuse 70-7, having the ball for just over 18 and a half minutes. Your quarterback didn't throw for 50 yards because you scored 21 points in the first 3 possessions of the game, and your offense hadn't even taken the field yet on 2 pick sixes and a punt return. Should we get up and give you a cookie? Miami led Syracuse 38-3 with under a minute to go. Do we now judge wins over bad teams instead of and compare them to how much you blew them out by? Not how close the game was, because if you told me that we beat Syracuse 17-10, I'd say, God damn, that's bullshit. That's trash. But 38-3 up with a minute to go is 38-3 up with a minute to go. And Miami ended up winning 38-10 because they scored against our third and fourth string defense. But you won 77. Congratulations. You play Stanford this weekend at Stanford. Hey, maybe Stanford does us a solid and ends you guys. Maybe they do. They're 4-7. They just shocked me with a win over Cal. Can't believe they beat Cal. Maybe they do to y'all at 10:30 at night, and I will be watching. Maybe they'll do to y'all what they did to Florida State. I don't know. But you got wins over 2-9, 2-9, 1-10, 3-8, and now potentially 4-8, 4-7. Miami. Miami has some teams that haven't had great seasons, unfortunately. But Miami opens up beating up on Notre Dame, 10-2. Miami then beats Bethune-Cookman. Obviously, that's like playing this Little Sisters of the Poor. I guess you could compare them to Purdue and Arkansas, right? And Boston College, right? They were 6-6. They beat South Florida 8-3, who was ranked for a large portion of the year and was ranked when we played them. Beat the doors off them. And then we played Florida at home in a rivalry game and smacked their ass 26-7. Where the SEC officials managed to keep the game close by calling back a 50-yard touchdown that would have made the game 20-0 because of a whistle. Sure, Florida's 3-8, but you know what Florida's done so far this year? They lost to Georgia by 4. They beat Texas. Texas beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat Alabama. Alabama lost to Florida State. You get what my drift. Then they go and they beat Florida State. At the time they played Florida State was 3-1, ranked in the top 20, ranked number 17, had been upset by Virginia a week earlier, had the number 1 offense in America, and Miami led 28-3 going into the fourth quarter. And after that weekend, people were calling Miami the number 1 team in the country. A lot of people sure as shit did. Because at the time, FSU was 3-1 and doing pretty well. Then Miami plays Louisville and blows it. Yes, Miami blew it. Absolutely. They lost to a team that was 4-1 that wasn't ranked. But if they had been in the SEC, a 4-1 team would always be ranked. But ACC teams don't get that same type of love, no matter what they do. Then they played against 4-7 Stanford and won 42-7. Good luck. You play them this weekend. If you win 28-10, do we have to now hold that against you? I just asked the question. Then we play 8-3 SMU when we lose on the road, a game that we led 20-17 with under a minute left, and a referee throws a flag on a personal foul, damn well knowing that guy did not hear the whistle and didn't try to kill somebody, because the reality was he could have lit that dude up, and instead he hit him and he caught him before he hit the ground. He caught him. Sure, I'm not happy that Mario Cristobal called timeout there. But the Miami Hurricanes, bad loss. How bad does it look right now? SMU is ranked in the top 20, top 21. 21 in their most recent CFP. If they win at Cal, they will be in the top 20 in the CFP. If they win the ACC championship, they will be going to the college football playoff as a 10-3 team. Is that loss still a bad loss? Losing on the road to a good team. Is it? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Disappointing for Miami, but not a bad loss. Miami then beat Syracuse 38-10. They didn't look good. They played like trash and won 38-10. They led 38-3 with under a minute to go in the game. What do you want them to do? Win by 60? Does that do anything for you? And then they play NC State, the same NC State you played in Beat the doors off them. Up 41-0. Probably could have been up 55-0 if Mario Cristobal had not turned the offense off, not put the bench in. So record by record, I mean, there are some teams that you played that have better records. There are some teams that you played that have worse records. Miami doesn't have one singular team on its schedule that is 2-9 or 1-10. And you got 3 of them. And you got scored 30 on by a team that ain't scored 30 on anybody in Purdue. And you only led Boston College 12-10. And let me give you an update on what the scores of Boston College's games have been. Outside of the Georgia Tech game that Georgia Tech blew, Boston College lost 42-40 to Michigan State, and Michigan State's terrible. They lost 30-20 to Stanford, 28-24 to Cal, 48-7 to Pitt, 41-10 to Clemson, 38-23 to UConn, 38-24 to Louisville, 45-13 to SMU. Their win was 66-10 over Fordham, and their loss to Notre Dame was 25-10. They held Notre Dame's vaunted offense to less points than anyone this season outside of Fordham. Notre Dame scored the fewest points against Boston College than Boston College gave up to anybody all year. So, Joey Galloway, I'll ask you again. Notre Dame was playing better than Miami when they beat Boston College 25-10? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. You tell me about this great schedule that they've played with 3 teams that have a combined 5 wins and 28 losses. 5-28 between 3 teams. You tell me, man. That's how they cruise through their schedule. That's how Notre Dame got to cruise through their schedule. They played every tough game at home, lost one of them. The one tough one they played on the road, they lost. Pittsburgh, I guess, was a tough one on the road. But the real tough one, we all know, was down here. And people will say, oh, Notre Dame had no idea what they had on their team. They had a redshirt freshman quarterback. You got a motherfucking Heisman Trophy candidate, probable winner in your backfield. You went to the national championship last year and you lost. You were down 21-7 in Miami in the 3rd quarter, down 24-10 in the 4th quarter. Not for Mario Cristobal taking his foot off the gas once again. We all know that game would have been probably worse. But, this is why I care about how the scoreboard looks, because I knew that some bullshit like this would probably come up. And if Miami had had drug Notre Dame and beaten them 31-14 or 38-14, as it should have looked like at the end, are we even having this conversation right now? Oh, no, it's because you caught up in the 4th quarter and made it a game that you largely got dominated in for 3.5 quarters. It's okay. I was there. I saw it happen. But I look at the records. You got 10, 14, 21. I'm sorry, 20, 24, 31, 31 plus 6, 37, 45, 46, 54, 62, 62 plus 7 is 69. 69. Again, I don't even know. I didn't even add this up. I'm sure Notre Dame is a little bit better. 11, 20, 24, 29, 32, 42, 44, 47, 47 plus 8 is 55. So their total record this year of their opponents is 69-62. 16, 24, 27, 32, 39, 43, 51, 54, 54 plus 60. So up until this point, Miami's strength 63, 8, 11, 19, 19 plus 6, 25, 29, 29 plus 7, 36, 39, 47, 52. So Miami's is 63 and 60. And is that proper math? I don't know. Miami's opponents are 63 and 60. Notre Dame's are 69 and 62. Unless 69 and 62. Don't know how that could be. Is that possible? Let me do my math again. 16, 24, 24 plus 3 is 27, 32, 39, 41, 49, 52, 58, 61. I'm sorry, 61 and 60. 61 and 60. They got an 8-3 Pittsburgh this weekend, so they'll be potential. If they win, they're 69 and 64, right? And Notre Dame's will be at, if they win, it'll be 73 and 69, 73 and 70 or whatever. I mean, it's so close. But the reality is this: you played 3 teams that won less than 3 games, bro. And you're talking about schedules and how well you played? Don't give me that crap. You played at home. You played on the road. You played Miami. You played Arkansas. You played Boston College, Pitt, and Stanford. Really? You lost one of the 2 tough ones. At home, you got to A&M, Purdue, Boise, NC State, USC, Navy, and Syracuse. I mean, come on, bro. You're in the ACC. You're literally ACC adjacent. Your schedule is damn near half ACC. Stop, bro. Carson Beck looks better these last 3 weeks, and he's looked all season, including in the opener when he hadn't practiced but for 2 weeks and had 5 receivers that had never played for Miami before. Yes. So while you talk about CJ Carr being a redshirt freshman, Carson Beck was coming off elbow surgery, bro, and had 5 wide receivers that had never played in a Miami uniform before. And Notre Dame was a defending national runner-up. It wasn't a national championship last year. And you're sitting here talking about how, oh, it was early. Well, it was early for both teams. Doesn't matter when you play. And I would bet you right now that if Miami played them again, Miami would beat them again. Because you know what Notre Dame couldn't do against Miami, which is how Notre Dame works? They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball. But again, we'll listen to clowns like Joey Galloway. Thank God for people like Booger McFarland. Can't even believe I'm saying this. Thank God for people like Paul Feinbaum. Can't believe I'm saying it. What is the point of playing a non-conference game that matters if it doesn't fucking matter? So now we may have the possibility of Miami not making the playoffs because a random group of morons thinks that fucking Notre Dame looked better when playing Boston College than Miami did, not playing them. I mean, I hope, I pray. I didn't think we would need more help. I really didn't. Because, of course, I thought Bama was going to beat Oklahoma and they would not be in the picture. And right now we'd be sitting at number 11 and then having the conversation of jumping to 10 because BYU will probably lose to Texas Tech. There are other ways that Miami can get in there. Sure, I think Oklahoma could lose to LSU. I do think Auburn can beat Bama. Hey, maybe Stanford gives us a solid. I don't know. But if Miami does not make the playoffs this year, it will be the most criminal level act that ever existed in college football, short of Florida State being omitted at 13-0 when there was 4 teams. Outside of that, it seems like only when it's Miami does head-to-head not matter. Because everybody else who's side by or close to somebody else with head-to-head, they are ranked ahead of them. And I'll tell you what, I remember this very, very well. The year 2000, Miami somehow gets jumped by Florida State after beating Florida State, and then loses to Oklahoma in the goddamn Orange Bowl. And everybody and their mama knew that Miami would absolutely beat the doors off of Oklahoma that year. Oklahoma knew it. But hey, that's my little rant, sort of. Notre Dame got 3 wins over teams that have a combined 5 wins and gave up more points to a 2-9 team than anyone scored all season. And you tell me that this shit makes sense? And you had a committee talking about we're in the groups and all that crap. So you think that BYU is better than Miami? Are you on drugs? Bama has a common opponent to Miami. Miami beat the brakes off that team. Bama lost to that team. Like, this is nuts. This is nuts. And if Miami wins on Saturday in any level of convincing fashion, fuck, just wins. They will have had 4 ranked wins this season. 4. 4. How many does Notre Dame have? How many? How many ranked wins does Notre Dame have? Is it 2? Yes, that would be affirmative. I'm sorry. It's 2. Yeah, they're 2-2 against ranked teams. Miami is 4-0 against would be 4-0 against teams that were ranked when they played them. Notre Dame, South Florida, Florida State, Pitt. SMU and Louisville were not ranked when we played them. And if you want to include them, then we played 6 ranked teams. Notre Dame's played 4. Because at no point in the rest of the season were Stanford, Syracuse, Navy, Boston College, NC State, Boise State, they were ranked in the beginning of the year, but they weren't ranked when they played them. Arkansas and Purdue. Those teams weren't ranked. We can even look at it a little bit closer and look at another team that I'm curious to know. I'm just curious because, the whole thing is set up to favor the SEC. Let's look at this team right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. So Alabama's got 4 ranked wins. 4. So that's the same as Miami. Alabama's got 4 wins against ranked teams. That's what Miami has. Interesting. Ohio State has 2 ranked wins. Miami has 4. And of course, I'm talking about when they played. When they played. Because that's what matters, right? When they played. Let's look at some other team. Look at Texas Tech. I already know hasn't beaten anybody. No, sorry, Texas A&M. Texas A&M has 1 ranked win. Notre Dame. They haven't played anybody the rest of the season. Texas Tech, 1, 2. They got 2 ranked wins. They lost to an unranked team, just so you know. Texas Tech does not get punished for losing to an unranked team. I mean, come on. Oregon, their first, they got 2 ranked wins. I'm sorry, 3. Iowa, USC, Penn State, and we all know what happened to Penn State. And then let's find somebody else to mess with. Here, how about Georgia? How many ranked wins does Georgia have? 1, 2, 3. They got 3 ranked wins. What happens if Georgia Tech beats them on Saturday? Trash ass ACC, right? How many ranked wins does I don't know? Oklahoma has a few. How many does Texas A&M have? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So Miami right now has at least tied for the most ranked wins in the country right now at 3. And no one else had more than 3, I don't think. I think Bama's got 4. Bama's got 4. Beyond that, Miami has 3. Tennessee ain't beat nobody. Indiana's beaten Oregon and Illinois. That's it. Ole Miss They beat LSU. They lost to Georgia. They beat Oklahoma. They got 2 ranked wins. I mean, hey, these are just the facts. I know that people don't like them, but those are just the facts. But that's all I got. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Appreciate y'all. We will be here live on Saturday, 11:50 a.m. It's gonna be a long day of football, my friends. Long day of football. Let's get it. This is Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.